In this tutorial, we'll cover the essential steps towards data segmentation, which is the task of assigning time intervals for every part of the recording that's relevant for our research. So to cover those steps, we'll open our new project and go into our first data transcript, and you'll remember that where we left it in the preparation steps, we now have the session information assigned, but we still have no record in this particular transcript. And so what I will do here first is adjust my interface to get to see a maximum of information. So I'm expanding my window. I'm also closing the media player, which is not necessary because we have a WAV file to work with. And then I go into the timeline, which is the interface that we use for data segmentation in Fawn. The way segmentation works in Fawn is a little bit like playing a simple video game. All we have to do is have our fingers ready on some keys, so key number 1 and 2 in the present context, and listen to the recording in real time. And at the end of an utterance produced by one of the speakers is to press the key that corresponds to that speaker. And the keys are in the order that they appear in the interface. So if we hear an utterance produced by the child, then the key to press is key number 1. And if the utterance is produced by the father, then the key to press is key number 2. So this task requires a little bit of practice. So when we do it for the first time, it's always a little bit stressful, but it takes very, very little practice to get used to it. And when you do it, the one thing you want to keep in mind is that your segmentation doesn't have to be final. So even if things are not perfect, you can go with a broad segmentation and always come to revise it afterwards. And this is what we'll do over the next few minutes here. So I will start segmentation, and when you click on start segmentation, you get to see that wizard that has a bunch of options, and here the default options are what we need to segment a brand new media recording. And so using these options, I will start segmentation and be ready to react with my keys number 1 and number 2. Okay, so if you've paid close attention to what I've done, the segmentation was going pretty well at the beginning, where I was alternating nicely between the father's speech and the child's speech. But when I came to this part of the recording, I made some mistakes there in that here the records I've been assigning to my speakers are a little bit off. So as I mentioned earlier, it's always easy to revise those segmentations by just playing with the interface within timelines. So in this particular case, I can listen to a record by clicking on the time interval and hitting the space bar. So in this particular case, this is fine. But then the following record, if I listen to it, will be assigned to the wrong speaker, because here it's in the line corresponding to the father, but it should be in the line corresponding to the child. And also that recording expands into the next speech turn a little bit. So if we listen to it, okay, so we see the two problems there. So what we can do is grab this time interval and just simply move it to the right speaker, and also adjust the interval, and this is where the waveform becomes very useful. And now we can verify, and that's done. And here this record is obviously not useful for anybody, so we can simply delete it. You can right click on it and do delete record. And of course you need to validate that action. And here, because of that previous mistake, I also need to revise that part, so I can move my speech bubble or my time interval in the right location, listen to it. Okay, and again I can fix this one record, and that leaves us with a child production that's unaccounted for. To fix this problem, all we have to do is select the part of the recording that's unaccounted for, and then we can listen to it by hitting the space bar. And now we know that this is a part of the recording that belongs to the first participant, so we can right click on that selection and create a new record that corresponds to the child's production. And then we can continue here. And so that fixes the big blunder I made while I was doing my segmentation. At the end, I forgot a small record as well. We can listen to it and assign it to the father participant. And finally, using the waveform, we can fine-tune our work. For example, here, the father's segment doesn't begin with the beginning of the recording, so we can fine-tune, adjust this segment start and end times of all of these forms, always depending on what are the needs for the current research.